quite frankly, we're wood snobs, so we don't really like any of those other products. So we spend more time explaining
talking people out of vinyl plank and such, and why hardwood's so much better.
Wood floor pros, look out. All things wood floor goes international once again as we welcome Greg and Leona Cook of Touchwood Flooring, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, 8-time recipient of the Flooring Consumer Choice Award. I'm your host, Steve Diggins, and I'll be talking with the Cooks about design elements and functionality in hardwood flooring, their brilliant 30-year partnership, their decades-long relationship with their flooring contractors, and a bit about wood and vinyl in our industry today. Touchwood Flooring has been extremely successful in the purveyance of fine hardwood flooring, so there's plenty to learn here today. All right, sit up straight, pull back your shoulders, stick your gum under the desk. You can retrieve it later. ATWF and Wood Floor Business welcome Greg and Leona Cook, an absolute hardwood flooring success story. Floor pros around the world, let's get to it. Leona and Greg Cook, welcome. Touchwood Flooring, Alberta, Canada. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
Nice
too.
to meet you as well.
For what you do in retail, do you also have to work with ceramic and LVT, SPC, all the floorings and the carpetings, or is it just hardwood?
We're specialized in hardwood.
Good.
Yeah. So that's all we do is hardwood flooring. I mean, a little bit of laminate, a little bit of vinyl plank, but quite frankly, we're wood snobs, so we don't really like any of those other products. So we spend more time explaining
talking people out of vinyl plank and such, and why hardwood's so much better. But yeah.
I used to do seminars and teach people how to sand and finish and install, and they would ask why I was doing that. I said, because you'll never do it yourself again. You'll tell all your friends to go hire us and pay us anything they can, because if you think you can sand a floor, forget it. But installation is no breeze either.
Yeah. Well, sanding and finishing is an art. It really is. And the people who are good at it deserve every penny that they make.
Yeah.
Installers as well. I have to laugh at the people that it's hardwood floor. It's easy.
I've written whole articles about, it's just a jigsaw puzzle. If I knew it was this easy, I would have just had my husband do it. As you growl. Take that number one comment out of the van and put it in the middle of their dining room floor.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned how valuable the installers are. We talk about it all the time. It's so hard to get talented, qualified people, et cetera. With all that you've done and been able to do, it seems like you have a really good connection with the people that do your work. They're not employees, are they? Are they all subcontractors? How do you keep that all together and you're able to keep the level that you do with that kind of quality?
Pay them well.
And also too, we don't go down a list. If like we have these set guys that we use all the time, and we try to keep them busy all the time.
Right.
And so if somebody wants to go, well, our next available time slot is here. We don't go, okay, well, we'll go down a whole list and have somebody there tomorrow. Like it's, we want to use our guys and less headaches. And if we keep them busy, they want to work for us. It's a win-win for both ways, where if we start going down the list and using people that aren't familiar with our products, aren't familiar with our standards, it just creates problems down the way.
Have they been with you a long time?
Yeah. I mean, our newest crew has been with us for
12 years now.
12 years.
So, yeah.
12 years they've been doing our work.
That's a long time.
And so yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of business reasons why you want to have subcontractors working for, and not just subcontractors, but incorporated, so they're their own companies, the logistics of having a subcontractor working for you, and you're paying them, and they're not taking care of their business, not paying their taxes, not doing this, not doing that. Mm-hmm. That all goes away when you're hiring companies. When you're hiring a company, you're not hiring a subcontractor. It's because they have to file a tax return every year, as opposed to subcontractors. And I mean, there's other reasons why you want to have the setup the way that most companies run with their subcontractors, and it's lots of business reasons behind it.
That's really smart, because you think about it, you have your portfolio for your customers, and you have the people that spread the good word about the work that you do. When I started my company, it was like everybody else. every phone call was, why aren't I there personally? And you'd have to explain, at least you have the background. It's your team. They do the work. They're highly reputable. They're not chasing you specifically down to do the work.
And the job will get done faster instead of Greg used to himself. He won't be very fast anymore.
I thought he won the 1989 Speediest Floor Guy Award because I was the year before you.
That was never before. That was never him.
That was that phone call. It's 6 o'clock. I'll be home by 7, and 9:30 you drag your butt through the door. And it took a little longer.
My wife, the whole time I ran my company, my wife to this day, if I give her a time schedule for anything, she refuses to believe me. And now she's a realtor. Way worse than a flooring person. She's never home. She's still surprised after 10 years that people want you to show them real estate on holidays, nights, and weekends. When they're not working.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But how long you've been in business? 30 years.
No, well, we've been in the industry 30 years. And we've had our company for 24 years.
Always together? Did you start out together, or you both?
I started about a year before him.
She got into the flooring business a little bit before, but we started the company together. And we've always, as far as the flooring side of things, we've always worked together. So that's like being in business together for 48 years and being married for about 90.
Right? 90. Good.
90.
Oh, yeah. We've been married for 30 years. And I said, obviously, every time we have an anniversary, we should get extra credit because we work together.
Greg, you're within striking distance of Leona.
Yeah. There's a camera rolling. There's witnesses.
That's true. That's right. Leona, how did you get into the industry?
I was in a design arts kind of industry, which kind of folded. And then, so I thought, I always wanted to be an interior designer. So I started applying around for different types of jobs within that field. And so I started doing draperies and blinds and that type of thing. Yeah. And I worked a ton of hours because at that time Greg was in the restaurant industry and he was working a ton of hours, so I might as well stay at work. And next door was a flooring store, and they came over and offered me a job because they looked like I worked. So then I thought, okay, well, I know a bit about drapery. Well, then I'll learn about flooring and I'll just keep going. But it's kind of stuck. So.
Well, Greg, you said it, 90 years. I started my business. My dad had a big worldwide partnership, and he said to me, listen, if you go into business, don't have a partnership. So the first thing I did was start my floor company, met another guy, and it was just so much psychologically easier and physically easier. And, I said to my wife, this is like two marriages. We were married young, and then my business partner, and I'm answering to him and his wife, and he to me and mine, and then it's, well, why did you go on vacation? And it a lot of it got crazy. You're literally managing two of these relationships. That you got yours condensed into one, luckily, it sounds like.
We started off, though, with a business partner.
Yep.
And at the time, initially when we first got going, it was great because, we all had our head down and off we went. But it actually probably kept us married because in your early 30s, you want to be right all the time. So if I had a great idea and I couldn't sell it to my two business partners, well, then I guess that didn't go. Where otherwise at 30, when you want to be right, you'd be, you'd be fighting all the time, right? Trying to get your way. Where if there's three people, that kind of broke the tie. And our people used to ask our business partner, well, God, don't you, they must overrule you all the time. He goes, no, not at all. Because he was the tiebreaker.
That's funny. Do you divvy up, I would think then, you probably divvy up the design aspect a little bit maybe from the technical aspect.
Absolutely, yeah. That's, that's, Leona's, I was in the restaurant business, so I use a lot of those terms. So it was a front house and the back house type of thing. So anyway, Leona does all the pretty stuff and all the estimating and sales and that type of thing.
Meeting with the customer, helping them pick their products and all the fun stuff.
Yeah. Colors and shades and textures.
Measures and all that. It's all the fun stuff, I think.
And then once they've signed on the dotted line, then I take it over from there. I do the scheduling and run the crews and take care of any service issues, that type of thing. And I take care of the office functions around here as well, the bookkeeping and that type of thing. So oversee all of that.
See, that's smart. When we run our showroom, and we're wholesale, so every now and then our customers are experts, but they might send somebody here. And my first question is usually with hardwood flooring is aesthetics. And the second one might be, besides color, the width or size of the board. My third one is always technical. It's what's your heat system? What do you got for subfloor, new construction, old construction? Are there moisture issues?
Right.
Because I used to work with a lot of designers, interior decorators, where they would promise the customer this elaborate form and function, and you're like, listen, this is not going to, we did a building with 3 million feet of quarter-sawn oak, and the new designer wanted to put in just plain maple over a concrete slab because it was pretty. And it's nice that you two are in the same building, and you've been doing this so long to know where form and function meet, it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And on the technical side of things, that's another. Leona and I will quite often discuss things when she's talking pretty, and I'm going, oh, well, okay, but what about, what about the heating system? What about the especially where we are, the heating system is crucial with the humidification.
We're very dry here. So
6 months of snow on the ground tends to make things very dry here.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we're in New Hampshire. It's very similar. Yeah. And, I did all the floors in my house, and I was really impressed because flooring people are never happy with their work. And I did a pretty good job. Well, I had this beautiful hickory engineered downstairs and didn't think, and we bought a pellet stove because it's 9 months of cold here. And you can't add humidity to a pellet stove. So I have split veneers, warped veneers on a very expensive floor.
Oh, especially hickory.
Right. How much hickory did you sell in 30 years? None. And then my wife picked it out of my car and said, let's use this. Now I sell it to my customers carefully.
Yeah. No, we do care. We are very careful with hickory too.
I was looking at some of your information on Wood Floor Business Magazine, and because they had recently done an article on you, and we all get to see those articles and edit them and talk about different aspects of it. And I noticed it mentioned in there when you're talking technical, you folks seem to mix up a bit of the NWFA standard guidelines with some of your own. Is that because of the weather?
Just because of the humidity, and it's we don't tend to stray very far, but in particular the humidity readings. I really like to see no more than a couple of percentage points between our subfloors and the product that we're putting in. I like to see the moisture content. I mean, most of the manufacturers, their moisture content's 6 to 9%. I really like to see that in the 6 to 7% range before we install the floors, just because we just know that almost every floor that we install during the winter months is probably going to spend a portion of the winter outside of the recommended ranges.
Right.
So we give it every fighting chance they can. And more importantly is the products that we work with, they're all tried and true here. Mm-hmm. Like any salesman comes through, wholesaler comes through, and we've got this great new product line. How long have you been selling it? Well, it's brand new. Okay, well, here, give us some samples. We'll throw them in the warehouse, and we'll talk to you in about 6 months and see what samples do. Yeah, because we've seen some incredible things happen to samples.
And I'll get all excited to look at this, this fume maple, and then it buckles and
it explodes, in all honesty, we test the products outside of the recommended ranges because we know that, and you also, when you're working with manufacturers, there are people that are going to stand behind you, and they get it. Most of the dealers, our manufacturers that we work with, are here in Canada, and they know the problems that we have here, and we can't work with dealers that are going to say that, okay, well, the recommended range is here, and obviously you were outside of that range, and therefore the warranty is gone.
If it's relatively, they're recommending 35 to 45% relative humidity in the house. Well, for the most part, we can achieve that, but there are some times when it's minus 30 Celsius outside, their humidity is going to be hovering around 25%, for probably 2 weeks. and then it's going to go back up. So if the floor fails for those 2 weeks or 3 weeks that they weren't able to keep it, it wasn't probably a good product for us.
When does the humidity, or does it during the year, July, August, or no?
July, August is usually our most humid, but it starts sometimes in May. We get, the April showers and,
by mid-May, the relative, I mean, during the summer months, our relative humidity is right in the target range. Like most of the summer here, of course, we take all the moisture readings all the time, so we know what the humidity is all the time. And most of the year, most of the summer months, so up until, right now, our humidity just started dropping in the last couple of days because it's been getting close to freezing overnight. So the furnaces have started burning and that type of thing. So the relative humidity starts to drop down. But during the summer months, we're right in that 45-50% relative humidity range naturally. Sure. So that's the good news. If your floor shrunk during the winter months, open your windows. Mother Nature will take care of them for you in the spring.
Well, if they went in right in the first place, they're going to be perfectly fine. Yeah. Well, that's what we get here. We literally have the heating and the non-heating season. The heating is about 9 months, and it's about 3 months of non-heating, and that's when the craziness starts. Like you said, with the manufacturers being in Canada, that helps. Think about what I sell. A lot of it's milled in the South, sold in the South. When I set up our operation in Florida, Orlando and Jacksonville were my biggest warehouses. Wide open, no acclimation, no discussion of acclimation. It's 13% all the time, every day, everywhere. You didn't even really think about it. Here, sometimes you have to, the drivers might come in with a little snow on the trucks, leave it there. Mix it around, measure the wood, see how much humidity we can get back into the air, just kind of the natural way. Where are your customers coming from? Is it all through social media, advertising?
A lot through the internet. Years ago, every time we'd go out to do a call, we'd ask, so how did you hear about us? And oftentimes people said, we did our neighbor's house, or a lot of it was referral. And now we're getting such good placement, seems to be on the internet, that it seems like when you say, so how did you hear about us? The most commonly it's, we were on the internet, we found you. Right.
Yeah, good route.
So it's really changed the way that's kind of through, obviously something that you have to.
Yeah, back in the day, it was location, 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 and a good sized ad in the yellow pages. When was the last time you looked at one of those?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and then 4 years ago, we moved off the main drag, and now we're kind of a block off of another main drag, and but it's all come by internet and Google Maps, and off you go.
Wasn't that better? When you come off the main drag, you're paying less. You're probably getting a much better client base and their return customers. That's got to be good.
Yeah. So most of we do work with a few home builders. Not any of the volume builders. That's just not a good fit for us. But
a lot of designers, So I like the designers, but then I can kind of gear them. I can talk to them with color and all that, but then I can gear them to the proper product and fit for what their use is going to be, and where it's going.
Well, that's so helpful because there's a lot of tradition in flooring, but there are fads and trends, and you don't have to avoid them. You can cash in on those really easy. Like right now, every rack, every piece I get in here, I swear everybody's making their version of 9 different gray floors. Everything we're getting is gray, and I remember it being brown, and that ended. And when are the grays going to end? And then people will go back to natural, and then they'll sand their floor in 10 years. It's crazy. But the design element for you, that's got to keep you super busy because you don't just have color and shade and values. You've got the texture of the floor. You've got the width and the size. What's popular? Are you getting what we're getting? That wide plank is everything right now?
We're moving out of gray and more into natural or kind of like a whitewash. That kind of look seems to be the two popular. And white oak is king right now. It's what everybody's after.
And 5'7", 9-inch.
Yeah. We use a line out of Holland, and of course they're about 5-6 years ahead of us as far as design and color and that type of thing. So it's kind of interesting to see for them. Like they just launched a whole bunch of new colors, and out of I think the 8 new colors, 1 was gray, but it was probably more gray brown.
Nice.
And no other gray. So it's going away eventually. So about 5 or 6 years, you won't be selling gray again.
Yeah, having been in the business as long as we have, we can go to just about any house that has a hardwood floor in it up to 30 years old, and we can tell you when it was done because of the trends of the time. Yeah. Does everybody remember the black maple floors with the semi-gloss finish on it?
Yeah, those are fun to do. Well, I was born and raised in this area. You're right. I could at some points go out and tell you the company and the installer who did it. Just by all the little telltale. Back then, some people had pneumatics, some people only manual nailed, some people top nailed, some people T-nailed. You could tell there weren't many people in my area either. Are you finding that with the wider planks, et cetera, material-wise, are you having the same problem that we're all having here? There just isn't any wood right now.
Yeah, that's, I mean.
It's really the change. We were just booming at the beginning of the year, and it's really the change on what's going to happen, because now we're looking at lead times of, 7 to 12 weeks. It's like, oh my, that's never. Usually you pick up the phone and called, and, they produce it in the next, 2 to 4 weeks type of thing. So like this is, we're going to have to get used to that for sure.
So we used to tell people tell our customers anything in 3 days. I wish we could do that now. We're doing very well. We have material, but it's the standard issue stuff that's just not available, and the manufacturers are trying to get stuff to us. They can't get it to us quick enough. And chemicals, forget it. Adhesives, polyurethanes, it's all very hard to get right now.
Same. I mean, we're all part of the same supply chain. So we're experiencing the same thing. Yeah, our sand and finisher was having a hard time getting discs for a sanding machine, and phone call the other day. We do a nail and glue assist on all of our wider boards, of course. And while there's no tube glue anymore, or they're running shortages. Yeah, we're dealing with all of that same stuff.
Yeah, I've talked to 2 large glue manufacturers, and they said that there's things that haven't even been discussed, like the freeze that they had down in Texas caused an explosion, and there's a material that was damaged. Somebody was telling me that there's a large adhesive manufacturer in Germany that had a landslide that wiped out the railway lines. So they can't, even if they wanted to, they can't get the material in or out. Then you have the problems with COVID and labor, and when
shipping, some of the containers and stuff like that, they're not.
Well, the shipping costs, I mean,
containers are going crazy now. So,
yet another issue. I mean, most of our flooring in that is domestic, but everybody's being affected by the shipping costs, because the containers coming to and from China are warranting a bigger dollar. So everybody's moving their ships to China, and the few containers that are left over here, guess what? They cost as much as shipping a container all the way from China. So.
Absolutely. Are the species pretty much the same? It's the red oak, white oak, maybe a little maple, birch we can't even get a hold of now. People seem to think that there are other species that are just so proprietary to Canada. Everyone thinks, well, it must be all maple up there, but most of what we ship in maple, we send to Canada.
Yeah, no, actually, you know what? It's funny, because most of the maple production in Canada is used for making maple syrup. So we don't actually cut a whole lot of maple trees. I know that almost all of the maple from the 3 mills that we deal with in the east all comes from the States. Yeah,
northeastern United States.
Right. Yeah. I see companies that have maple and it says made in Canada, and you ask, they go, well, we ship the lumber here, then we turn it into. I never thought about the maple syrup. So this is so off the edge, but anyway, somebody asked me the other day, they brought over duck eggs. So whatever, and I said, well, you never see a turkey egg. You think that'd make a heck of an omelet. So we got discussing. Well, I looked it up. They said that the turkey itself is so much more valuable as a turkey that they would never sell or cook the eggs.
Oh,
makes sense. What's an egg weigh, right? And you can get a 26-pound turkey out of each of those. You keep them. It's probably like your maple trees. Don't cut them. Do you have to alter what you're selling your customer and say, well, listen, this is what you would like, and it's going to be 12 weeks, or these are the things that we have if you're in a hurry, or how are you working that?
It's that's kind of part of the beginning of the questions. It's like, what are you looking for? What's your budget? What's, when are you looking to put it in? Oh, you're renovating your building. What other things you're doing? And they may say that they'll need it next month, but they haven't ordered their cabinets yet. They haven't been paying.
Oh, that's true. You're that lady. You're going to be the one with the bring your drawer in, bring your cabinet in. We're going to.
But if they're saying they haven't ordered their cabinets yet, well, cabinets right now are worse backlogged than what we are, right? So,
sure.
It's the same supply chain.
Do either of you have an opinion on, when I was running my showroom, people would bring in, let's say, a drawer or a cabinet, it's, door or something. There are times that matching the floor in that is a very poor idea, and there are times that aren't, because, as you would know, Leona, between the geometry of that vertical surface and how it can reflect light, and then it seems to me you get a gunstock floor or a chocolate brown floor. At noontime it looks like that, but once the sun goes down, it just looks like a big dark brown floor.
Yeah, and it's too much. Sometimes it's all the same, but you almost need something to break it up. Some sort of.
How would you coach that for a customer that's kind of looking at what they want to do? They bring in a cabinet door. Where do you start?
Well, I usually try to stay in the same color family, I guess.
Yep.
So if it's kind of a reddish brown, as long as we're kind of maybe a lighter version of that, or pull some of the tan out of it, or so something that still complements each other, but it's not match. I'm not really a matchy. I don't really.
No, you said you pull. I learned that from my mother-in-law. She was an artist. She would say, "Well, we're going to pull, I can't say tan, but taupe. We're going to pull taupe and bone and brown and whatever the cool colors are." And then, Greg, so when all this goes down, at what point do you jump in and with whether or not you think you're thinking about the subfloor, you're thinking about the heat, the humidity, the timing of everything? Where do you jump in on the whole decision, or do you both do it together with the client?
The decision kind of is kind of done from myself, and then I'll put it to Greg saying they're getting cabinets, which should happen about mid-October. Clients are hoping to go by the end of October. So then he'll talk to them as he's scheduling, asking what their other things that they're doing, and do they have do they have a humidifier, and he'll kind of check all those kind of little tick boxes on his end, but that's all sold and signed when he sees it. So.
Yeah, and Leona, when I say that, I'm more the technical side of it. It's usually Leona's well versed in all the products that we carry and knows, enough about them to not get us in any trouble as far as what she's selling, and but it's more so when we're looking at new products, new adhesives, new anything. Then I get involved in making sure that it's that we're using it in the manner in which it's supposed to be used, and that we know everything about it, and when we're working with a new product with our contractors, it's okay, well, this is a new product and here's how it has to go down, as opposed to just
letting them figure it out.
Yeah, the distributor walked by and gave us this new product, and here you are, and we're installing it today. Have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how we work together is a new adhesive. Greg will come to me and say, okay, I want to use this adhesive from now on, and then I'll find out all the specs as to what the coverage is and all of that. But then I use that adhesive, and that's just the adhesive that we use. and he's got all the technical part of it.
I'm sure your installers say, by the way, that adhesive, buy more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes sometimes no. But at the end of the day,
they'll be like, oh, this stuff is great. It spreads like butter, and it's
exactly.
blah blah blah. And then so they really don't like using the old adhesive. So we start, okay, well, you know what? Okay, it's working and it's getting results. Okay, we're going to use the one you guys like, because that'll make your life easier. And if you're happy, we're happy.
We get a lot of input from the guys in the field in regards to the products that we're working with, and we don't carry products that they don't want to work with, because all of the guys really want to put in the best product that they possibly can. And if they're having to fight with adhesives, if they're having to fight with product,
and the grooves are fitting together like they're just, and they're complaining and grumbling, and
we hear about it from them, because you have to listen to those guys because they do it. The guys that do it, that's all they do. They install hardwood floors 5 days a week, 8-9 hours a day, and so they know something.
Yeah, none of you want to get that call, hey, you have to come look at this. That's not a good phone call to get.
Yeah.
Even worse is I'm holding up on my check and, okay, we got a problem. There's a problem, Houston.
Hey, Wood Floor Pros, this is Kim Walgren, the editor of Wood Floor Business. If you're on social media, make sure you join the thousands of Wood Floor Pros following Wood Floor Business on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest, and Twitter. You'll see the latest articles, news, and wood flooring memes, and see all the opportunities to get your own stories, photos, and funny captions in the printed pages of Wood Floor Business. That's it for now. Let's get back to our conversation with Canadian wood floor retailers, Greg and Leona Cook of Touchwood Flooring.
Well, you're 8-time Consumer Award winners. Your distributors must be offering to take you around the world, I would think. Do you have more than one major distributor for you folks, or?
We've got we deal with like 3 Canadian mills mainly, and then we have a line out of Europe.
So do you get your lines more direct or
directly?
Yeah.
Directly from the mill.
That's the difference. That's what I'm saying. Like here, you can't really do that. You've got to go through wholesale distribution because
with the exception, we do buy some Chinese products, and they're all through wholesalers. And they're wholesalers that we've dealt with for years, and we used to buy solid wood from them, and like we want
local representation for the products.
Yeah.
And I mean, we
don't want to bring a container in from China ourselves.
No.
And be responsible for it. We want somebody else to be the one that's going to help us out with it.
I mean, we would prefer to sell Canadian products, but I mean, in a lot of cases, the budget is what the budget is, and a lot of the offshore products. And I think we need to clarify that there is actually a difference between a product that's manufactured in China and a Chinese product.
Right.
So I mean, there are lots of mills in China that just sell their products around the world and that type of thing, as opposed to all of the products that we carry that are manufactured in China are manufactured for somebody in China, and of course that means that they have their quality control on the ground in China, making sure that because the Chinese philosophy on manufacturing is that the quality control is the responsibility of the customer. So, I mean, if you're going to manufacture in China, you better have somebody there to make sure that it's going the way that it's supposed to.
And we're not set up to buy containers of Chinese product.
No, we're not
we're not that big. And at the same time, everything when people come in the door, it's very custom. What would you like today? Yeah. And not we're trying to mass sell this great price.
So they're all cut orders. If the people need 720 feet, they get 720 feet.
That's what they get. Yeah, exactly. We order directly from the manufacturer, and we order what we need when we need it. Because our experience, you're in a tough business because, quite frankly, my experience with stock is whatever I've got, nobody wants.
Right? Yes. Or somebody says, what happens? The mills will say, listen, we know you really need this product. Why don't you take 3 pallets of common off my hands and 2 common off my hands, which we don't sell, and the price is so good, and you're doing them a favor in that relationship, so you do it. It's like when you see 7 really big Hollywood stars in one movie, it's a terrible movie. I think that Tom Hanks had to get Mr. Rogers, or he never would have got the big ones. So you see this coming, and we look at it, and you say it. I look in my warehouse, and sometimes I go, "Wow, that stuff was supposed to fly out the door."
Yeah. Well, I know, and and it's such a good deal, and it was the color, and then people are like, "Oh, I don't want that width, or I don't want that gloss level." Like, oh. Yeah. And then it sits and it sits and it sits and it sits, and then we blow it out the door and we make no money out.
And you must tell people
don't stock anything.
You're not telling people to buy 5%. Then you're probably telling them it's got to be 7, 8, 9, 10%. I would think at least, because our people have it so razor sharp that unless it's a stock item, we make them buy another box. It is definitely not worth going back to China for the one gun stock color they don't make anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we usually, especially on the wider boards, because especially if you're in a project where you're going throughout the entire house, you've got a lot of starting and stopping, and you've got a lot of waste. And if you've got a 2 1/4 inch board and you're 2 inches away from the wall, well, you're not wasting a whole lot. But if you're putting in a 7-inch plank and you're now 2 inches away from the wall, you're cutting off 5 inches and throwing it away. Well,
yeah.
So your waste goes up pretty. We stair step up our waste. We still use 5% on the 2 1/4 stuff, but can't remember the last time we installed one of those. But we'll as a general, when our product that we bring in from the Netherlands, we'll usually tack on 10% as a cutting allowance. But it's all 7 and 9 inch stuff. So.
Greg, how did you get into all of this? It seems like you've been doing this since like high school. How did you go straight?
No.
I got a feeling we graduated at the same
I didn't
time.
get into the hardwood flooring business. Actually, Leona, Leona mentioned, she started working, and I was working in the restaurant business, and I was running. It was, the restaurant business is those getting off work at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning was getting kind of old. Leona and I were married, and it was time to start thinking about what I wanted to do when I grew up. So
so one of the guys at the office there was looking for a helper, and Greg thought, that might be kind of, I'll maybe do that for a while, see how it, just maybe until I find something else. And it kind of
so I actually started sanding and finishing. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I got thrown in the middle of a few gymnasium floors, and you learn how to run a big machine running on when you're walking back and forth for 8 hours a day in a huge gym.
800 feet backward.
Yeah. And even though the crazy hours that he worked, it was still better than the restaurant hours. So.
Yeah. So that was back. I was mostly sanding and finishing, but that was back in the day when everything was site finished, and most of the crews did installations, and then they pulled out their sander and they started sanding and finishing. So I got well versed on both sides of it. But I firmly believe in the specialist. I think that if you install every day, you can drive around with the right tools and do a good job, and you're better at it if you do that every day than if you're installing for 3 or 4 days and then you drag out your sanding equipment and then you do that for a couple of days. I'm not saying there aren't people out there that do both, but I just think that if you're sanding and finishing every day, you're really good at it. And I do both. I was not the best sand and finisher out there. I was better at installing, but I think that you can tell the guys that are really good at sanding and finishing, because I think there is an artistic side to that. There is on both sides, the install and the sand and finish, but more so the finishing part of it.
That goes to say though that people that install hardwood floors every day versus the guys that install vinyl plank for a week, and then this town they got a hardwood job and then they install. They're not going to have all the equipment and the tools, and they're just not in that mindset, right?
Yep.
So.
Do you stock supplies of certain things for your guys, like staples, cleats, paper, underlay, or do they bring all that to the job? They're good to go.
You know what? There's certain stuff like all the adhesives in that we supply all of the adhesives, fasteners. No, because actually everybody's almost all the products out there these days the cleats is what's recommended. So that's kind of a standardized thing. And the guys supplied our price per square foot includes a certain amount for fasteners. So they supply their own fasteners, but any of the adhesives, underlays, all of that kind of stuff, we supply out.
Because then we know that they're using
stuff. Yeah.
And then we can warranty that better, right?
And you will. What about, will you sell an unfinished, just strip oak floor?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, but you don't keep that in stock. That you would order too?
We'd order that too.
That would end up in most cases through a supplier.
Yes. Okay.
Because we don't do an awful lot of that kind of.
Yeah. And it's with us, there is. Well, now there used to be 3 distributors of hardwood flooring products in Alberta here in our province. That's down to 2 now, and we deal with both of the main distributors of hardwood flooring products. So we can pull from any of those. But it's getting tough to actually find unfinished wood out there.
Yeah.
One of the mills that we deal with does produce unfinished square edge, but it's not. It's most of the sanding and finishing that we do is refinishing, because Lord knows there's enough pre-finished hardwood floors out there that are getting to that 20-year life cycle that they need to be sanded down.
Yeah, and they're all dark, shiny maple.
What is with the dark, shiny maple?
It was
the thing about 20 years ago, and it looks horrible right now.
Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah.
Most flooring people would run in fear of even trying to stain maple. In that case, you paint it black, throw an enamel over it.
Our fellow that does our sanding for us, he's been doing it since we opened our doors. So he's he followed us over from another company, and he does work for other people in town too, but he does all of our Saturday fishing. We don't go anywhere else other than him. So.
Do you do Monday through Friday, or do you have retail hours like Saturdays and Sundays and things?
Before COVID, we were every Saturday we were open, Monday to Saturday.
Right.
And once COVID hit, then we started by appointment only.
Right.
And so we're not open on Saturdays anymore, and we'll come in by appointment, and that's the only time that we'll come in on the weekends now. So it's much better. I think that COVID has some benefits.
Can you? I'm just thinking. Can you travel together, or do you have to? Somebody has to run the shop.
Yeah, you know what? That's we're just working our way through that. We have taken off this summer. We took a week off, and we just closed the shop. Again, as long as you've got to
close the shop. But I work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you came back Tuesday. Monday,
yeah. So it didn't work all that well, but
it was still by appointment, right? So we still kind of come in and did our thing, whatever.
But we're still working our way through that. I mean, when a lot of what we do, I mean, like everybody else, a phone and a computer, and you can do a lot of things.
A lot.
Yeah. So, so as long as we've let our customers know, if our plans are, if we are going to travel, I'm not going to book any jobs, because as good as our guys are at dealing with problems and that kind of stuff, I don't want to have that phone call from my customer saying there's a problem on the job site. Can you come down here? Well, I could, but I have to get on a plane, and I won't be there until a week, next week. But so anyway, we just won't book any jobs for actual installs while we're traveling. But all the other things that we deal with,
which means that we're not going anywhere for more than a week.
For you guys, it's got to be hard to just get up and go, take a break and go travel, I would think, because you're busy.
Well, we're busy, but and we always have, up until COVID, we had more staff. So there's always somebody here, like there's always somebody answering the phone, and then we still did our thing from where we were. We have a place in Mexico, so we like to go down there. And
that's nice.
We're all set up on a computer, and we answer our calls at the end of the day and the beginning of the day, and then we go have some fun in the meantime. And but it's good. Now we've let some of the staff go because of COVID, and we're trying to see if we can make it without hiring them back, and we'll see.
Well, let's put it this.
That means it's just the two of us, so we'll shut her down for the week, and no appointments this week, and the appointments will be the week after. So yeah.
I mean, hopefully we get back to where we were, because we haven't. I mean, you know what? We're doing okay because, of course, we reduced our overhead costs, but at some point in time, you get to the point where, okay, is this good enough, and we stay the way that we are, or it's, we start hiring people back, and there's pros and cons to both. I mean, God bless our staff; they're great. But, if you have one person working for you, you've got a problem. If you've got two people, you've got two problems.
If they're friends, you got 5 times the problem.
Yeah. It's changed the way that we've done this with COVID, just because now we're all by appointment, which we never used to be. And now I'm the only one. I'm the first contact, where I used to have other people that would meet up the clients, and then I maybe go out and measure after that. Or now I'm handling it right from start to finish. And I don't know, we're doing better business, and the customers seem to be happy, and I don't know. I think there's maybe some good to be said if we're touching everything. So I don't know. So.
But we're limiting ourselves, because you can only
do so much.
You can only do as much as you can do. Yeah. Personally. Yeah. So there's a downside.
And then there's other things that some of the stuff that maybe we had the staff do, it's just not getting done now, right? So, maybe we don't need to update that list or do this, or,
We don't spend a lot of time creating make work.
Kim Walgren and I were talking from Wood Floor Business Magazine about vinyl plank, SPC, WPC, LVT, all of that. And it struck me that in the wholesale side of it, it's sweeping part of the nation as far as wholesale distribution is part of our package. Like our southern stores sell a lot of it, and with there being no wood, it's been helpful. But then, like, my client base being a flooring contractor, my big client base are my floor guys and my pro flooring people, and it's not something they're thrilled about. Same as me. Listen, it's not made of wood. I really don't want a lot to do with it. But are you finding where are you folks in that whole thing with the synthetic versus the hardwoods?
We don't like it.
Yeah.
Like we We have houses right now they're like anywhere from 500,000 to 750,000, 800,000, and they're putting vinyl plank throughout the entire house, and tons of it right now. And so they're a custom home builder with vinyl plank. Meanwhile, they have granite countertops and high-end cabinets, but they're doing vinyl plank throughout. And it kills me because, going back like 3 years ago, nobody would have put lino throughout their entire house. But yet they're putting this stupid plastic floor now. I'm such a, well, Greg said earlier, we're wood snobs. I have a hard time selling it. It's like,
well, I think the reality of looking at it is that it's going to, in my opinion, for a couple of reasons, it's going to run its course. One is vinyl plank is not the if and in all
that people are making it out to be.
Hardwood flooring replacement. It's not. It's a piece of plastic that you're going to walk on. If you're lucky, you're going to get 10 to 12 years out of it. And then you're going to take that environmental mess the manufacturing process, the product, everything. It doesn't biodegrade. You're going to take it and you're going to throw it in the garbage and you're going to start all over again. With, is it cheap? Yes. I mean, that's the only thing that it's got going for it, is that it's cheap. And I get it. With some people, the budget is what the budget is. We want something to look nice. But I think that this current trend with it going into new homes and with the way that people move around these days, I think that people are going to realize that, Joe across the street is selling his house after 5 years. We're selling our house after 5 years. We have vinyl plank. He has hardwood flooring, and he just sold his house for $20,000 more for the exact same house right across the street. And ours is still on the market and we can't sell it. Why? Because vinyl plank's never going to add anything to your sellability of your home, that type of thing. And I mean, hands down, it's not a replacement. Vinyl plank is not a replacement for hardwood floor. Hardwood floor, we've always been big fans of. Even the engineered products that we carry has to have a decent wear layer on it so that you can get 2 to 3 sandings out of it, so that it's got a lifespan of 40, 50 years at least, and of course a 3/4 inch solid hardwood floor. Well, this week we were sanding a floor that was originally installed in 1954. And it's 3/8 inch. It was originally 3/8 inch thick, and it's still there, still doing its job. That type of thing. So, the vinyl plank thing, I think, is going to go away. Yeah. For those reasons, and for the fact that, I mean, as we go along further and further with the environmental consciousness of the world just being elevated, you can't make vinyl products and throw them in the garbage every 10 years. And say that you're doing your part. Like I get it, vinyl siding on the side of the house that's going to be there for 100 years. Okay, well, that's a little bit of vinyl that's going to go on that house. It's going to be there for a very, very long time. But if you're putting in vinyl products and replacing them every 10 years or 8 years or 12 years, that amortization is not going to pay off in the long run. So that's my thoughts on it. That's what I'm hoping for, is that hardwood flooring will eventually, the pros of it will be seen, and the downsides of the vinyl planks and the laminates of the world will just be seen for what they are. Just a temporary fill-in gap, a cheap temporary floor. Yeah.
Absolutely. I have to work both lines of it, so I use it as training wheels. You get the new millennials, et cetera, they're getting properties and rentals and flipping, and maybe they don't have the money. Well, fine. Yep. Put that stuff in there, because the next owner buyer is going to say, well, the first thing I'd like to invest in is the hardwood flooring. And Greg, you said it. I have a house that's aluminum sided. We put it in an addition that's wood, and I wasn't going to rip the whole rest of the house apart. It looks identical, even standing right directly in front of it. But if you put anything artificial as far as flooring in my house, you would spot it 100 miles away. I've had people put in a dining room and then rip the rest of the laminate out of the house because the dining room proved it wasn't going to match with what they had.
Yeah. It's painful these days, spending an hour on the phone with a customer. We want to know, we've got this hardwood floor, but it's only 2 1/4 inch solid oak, and should we sand it down and refinish it, or should we put vinyl plank over top of it? Ooh. So after I'm done pounding my head on the desk,
Option B.
That's when I killed him, Your Honor. Well, we do that here. You can here in New England. You can go in someone's house and they'll say, "Do you think there might be floors under this?" And by the age of the house, you go, "No, there are floors under there." Now, what they look like is a whole other ball of wax because people were supposed to live off carpets in the 1950s for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and people like my parents kept them 30, 40 years. And used to steam clean them and dampen them, and it was brutal.
And they're talking with asthma and that.
As a former installer, I've ripped out enough carpet to know what's underneath of it.
And we've never had carpet in our house ever. So.
You want to be sick for a day? Rip out a carpet in a house. That stuff is brutal.
Especially when they've got pets.
Yeah. And, and that's to me where the vinyl plank will kind of maybe, to me, if you have carpet, vinyl plank, okay, yeah, that's better than carpet. Okay.
I like telling people, you know what, the one place here in 100 years we don't own is the basement. So fine, if I will tell the supplier, if you can give me an SPC, which are my favorite, if they're made of stone, I like them better. If it looks like the hardwood flooring upstairs, and I know we cannot put that down there for any reason, we'll go with that. Or maybe you own an ocean property and you're going to just rent it constantly, and you know people are going to just beat the tar out of it. I have somebody, we rent their house every year on Cape Cod, and it was all like a laminate, like an LVT, and it looked nice enough. And then they sold their house in Maine and moved there. What do you think they did? They ripped all of that out and put a hardwood floor in. They bought it from me. So that was good.
I mean, we're generalizing, but I mean, there are places for it. And again, it gets back to, the budget is, and there's lots of reasons. If I had a rental property, I probably would put in something, inexpensive, an LVT or something like that, so that, if I get 10 years out of it, great. And then I rip it out and throw it away. Okay. Well, I totally get that.
But if you're putting into your house or your forever house or your something that you want to be in for a while or have some good resale value on it, then you should be putting hardwood in.
Most of it that we do will be for the customer that has done the whole rest of the house, but they've got little kids and they like to play hockey in the basement. Right. Okay. I've got the floor for you.
Perfect. That'll do it. Everybody has their little, flooring pet peeves. Are there different little pet peeves that bother you in the industry or in the day-to-day? Are they different from a design aspect and a installer background? We always ask people, is there something in the industry or something in the trade or something you do that really annoys you? And some people will say, well, it's staining floors, or it's the dust, or it's whatever it is. I didn't know if it's different in design. I work with a lot of my customers. Sometimes my pet peeve is when they just refuse to understand that just because their customer has money, they can't just have everything that they want because it's just not smart to do so.
Yeah, well, that's there's always going to be those people, and of course they come to you as the professional, but when you don't give them the answer, when you don't tell them what they're thinking,
if you don't know their narrative,
all of a sudden you're not the expert anymore. They are. Yeah.
Actually, I think probably my biggest pet peeve is that for people building a house, they have to finalize all their plumbing and their lighting first before they get to the flooring, right? So they have to, because that's how the house is going to proceed, because they now know how to wire it and how to run the plumbing light. So they have to pick all their lighting fixtures and all their plumbing fixtures before they get to my door. And then we're doing a whole house, and they're like, "Oh, this is so much money. I gotta cheapen it up a bit." Meanwhile, they've spent $1,000 on a faucet and like all these things. It's like, if you could start with something, you can replace that faucet 3 years from now, or that light fixture in the bathroom or in the hall. But meanwhile, you've blown your budget on that, and now you're coming to the flooring and you're going, how cheap can we do the flooring that should last the life of the house?
In Canada, is it different? In Canada, is our painters still the natural born enemy of hardwood flooring contractors? just see, I'm wondering, because here they are. It's just how it goes.
You know what? No.
Actually, in our industry right now, I think that right now in the floor, there's a real people are having a hard time getting good tile guys, and I think that's probably our biggest problem with our guys working on site.
Good tile
the
guys.
tile guy has just like, why did you leave it like that? And then we've got to fit up to you. Because there's not a lot of good tile guys out there at the moment. And
Here anyway.
in Edmonton, there's a real.
Do you know who the probably finest hardwood flooring contractor in the world is, and they're from Canada? I don't either. But I'll tell you why I say this. Because every time we would do a floor, this invisible person would show up and the customer would call and say, my cousin's painter from Canada said you didn't coat this floor right. Where is his cousin's friend's painter from Canada that always knows that we don't know what we're doing? I swear they hide around the corner. They wait till our van leaves, and then they call the homeowner in and say, I really don't think they gave you 6 coats on this. I think there's only 1. There's always somebody with an opinion. It's typically
there's all kinds of experts out there.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if we necessarily have painter guys that process grief. It's more tile guys, I think.
No, I think my arch nemesis will be the site supervisor who's building the house that he falls behind with some of his other trades or supplies, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So starts doing things out of order. It contrary to everybody's, okay,
we shouldn't be in there now.
Yeah.
This is way too soon for us.
When you're standing on your hardwood floor that you did a month ago, and the painter's there on his scaffold painting the ceiling, and the electrician is on a ladder over in the other corner, and the site supervisor is asking you why your hardwood floor dents so easy.
Yeah.
And
he hasn't covered it up, or
Yeah, you know what? So
You gotta prefer to be the last
That's why
one,
our
so.
nemesis is like, you realistically, okay, let's put the hardwood floor in. I mean, we do mostly pre-finished stuff. Let's put that in, put the baseboards on, do the paint touch-ups, and give it to the customer in pristine condition.
Yeah.
Please.
Please,
Yeah,
we don't want to put the floor in 3
Flooring
months
should be
before.
last of the last of the last, basically.
That's probably the arch nemesis.
Yeah, probably.
Or even retail customers that they just don't know, and they don't want to listen because their painter wanted to go, whatever, or the tile guy wanted to go first or whatever. So, just things getting done out of order. That's the biggest.
But you guys are fun. we had the flooring contractor of the year award winners, and the magazine had said, well, we need to talk to maybe some people that are a couple in flooring. That's you. I think that's it. I don't think there's 2 other couples left.
Or maybe they're divorced.
Well, there's one other, but they got a restraining order going right now. It's interesting to see that you work so well together, and it's we all got a lot out of this industry. I mean, I've put 2 kids through college and myself through college, and I've done a lot. I didn't think I would be involved in any of this, and once you're in, you don't seem to be able to get out of it. You're winded somewhere.
Yeah, the guy I often talk to the gentleman who got us involved, and I still tell him how much I hate him. But anyway.
I know, right? He's not on your Boxing Day list. No gifts for him. Okay, I get you. Well, listen, folks, I really appreciate you hanging out with me. It's been fun.
Yeah, that was great.
Maybe we'll talk again soon. Let's get rid of this COVID. Let's bring in some more flooring, and let's all get wealthy, and then we can sail around the world.
That sounds good.
Pencil us in.
Yeah.
All right, Leona, Greg, thank you very much for spending time with me. All right,
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
You too.
All righty.
Thanks for listening to this episode of All Things Wood Floor. To read more about Canadian wood flooring retailers Greg and Leona Cook, check out their Wood Floor Business Outstanding Retailers Award profile in the August-September 2021 issue, which can also be found digitally at our website, woodfloorbusiness.com. If you don't subscribe to Wood Floor Business, be sure to fill out the quick subscription form on the website too.